Let me start the video by telling you a story by explaining what I meant by I was so wrong with Reisong. Actually, it is I was so wrong with Lyric speakers that uses Reisong drivers. Now, recently I got this Lyric Moonriver 8 speakers in for review. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, for the last few years, I've been giving single driver speakers a chance. I wanted to know why there's such a cult-like following for single driver speakers. To try to figure out why single drivers are so good, I even bought one with an MSRP of $10,000 just to see what the buzz is. The only two single driver speakers I really liked are the Pearl Acoustic Sibelius and Leonidas Extreme. But ironically, those speakers don't sound like a typical single driver speaker. Now, my main issue with single driver speaker is that the top end does not sparkle, it's not detailed enough, the mid-range is shouty and dry, there's no upper or mid bass, even if you put it in a nice cabinet. Yeah, sure, you get lower bass, but yeah. So you never get that punch and you feel like there's a hole missing in the bass region. The lack of upper bass contributes further to the shoutiness found in single driver speakers. Now, having tried a few single driver speakers and having audio buddies who really enjoy them, yeah, over time I've come to appreciate them and can understand why some people have a bias towards that kind of sound. Some of the audiophiles I've met love that shouty forward mid-range. I remember seeing Russ' reaction, one of my audio buddies, when he first listened to that $10,000 single driver speaker I bought. He had this big smile on his face, as if he walked into a candy store with unlimited cash. I'll never forget that, because as he was smiling, I was thinking to myself, damn, is it shouty or what? Clearly, we live in a world with a lot of diversity and different tastes. So, when I received the Lyric Moonsight 8 floor standing speaker, now that one that uses the Reisong driver, I was both worried and excited. Maybe for the first time, this speaker will break that curse where every single driver speaker I brought home was like, meh. I was pleasantly surprised. This Lyric has tackled a lot of the known issues associated with single driver speakers. There's enough top-end extension, it sparkles, it is not as shouty as other single driver speakers that I've tried, and there is deep bass. Sure, the mid bass can get a bit more help, but overall, I felt it was better than most single driver speakers I've tried. Still, it did not give me that wow feeling. In case I was biased, I invited Mr. Kanta over to help me, as he is also not a big fan of single driver speakers. Well, except the Sibelius and the Leonidas. Well, in this case, after Mr. Kanta listened to the Moonriver 8, he agreed that compared to all the single driver speakers he had heard before, this Lyric is definitely a step up. However, when I told him the $3,000 price tag, he felt, yeah, although it's good for a single driver speaker, it is not good enough that he will shell out $3,000 for it. As I said, maybe I don't understand single driver speakers, but there's so many other better choices out there. Now, this put me in a situation, because I asked myself that question, do I review the speaker or not? As you know, I don't do negative reviews on my channel, but if I do make a review, I will share all the positives as well as the negatives. If at $3,000 it does not give me that wow feeling, am I the right person to review it? Perhaps they should send it to someone who loves single driver speakers and let them review it. So after putting some thought into it, with a heavy heart, I messaged Armando at Reisong Canada and told him I would not review it and I would ship it back. Then one day, I was looking at my rack of amplifiers and I saw this Reisong A12 single-ended Class A 6-watt tube integrated amp. Apparently someone online measured this, forgot her name, sorry, and she said, dude man, this is like a 3-watt amp, it has no power. And I've read many comments on this amp after my review. Some people loved it, while others were disappointed. Those who are disappointed find it too lean and it lacks bass. Anyways, I looked at this $300 amp and I told myself, perfect, a low power amp. And before I pack up the lyrics and send it back, why don't I give it a try? After all, high efficiency speakers like these Lyrics, people say you're supposed to pair it with low power single-ended tube amps. So with nothing to lose, I plugged it in and my jaw dropped. You see, all this time I've been pairing with high power amp, expensive amps, Mcintosh, Atoll, the Galion TS120, and at best it was okay, but I was never like, wow. With the cheapest amp at my home, the Reisong A12, I was like, wow. Changed the tubes to Sophia EL34, I was even more, wow. I was so wrong about these speakers. They can really shine with the right amp matching. At that moment, I had the urge wanting to buy these speakers, and I knew I have to make a video on it. The next day, with full confidence, I invited Mr. Cantor back, and he was like, yep, there's definitely something special here. Wow. Alright, my audio buddies, today, let's talk about the Lyric Moonriver 8 single driver speaker from Spain. Now the Lyric Moonriver 8 is a floor-standing speaker that uses Reisong single driver called the Fast 8. It is rated at 93 dB sensitivity and has a frequency response of 40 Hz to 18 kHz. Priced at around $3,000 US. You can listen to them here in Toronto. Reisong Canada owns the distribution rights for North America, and they're currently working with dealers in the States, so you can go listen to them in the stores in the future. For now, you will have to buy directly from them on their website. Now, I think they're offering free shipping for now. Well, double check with them. So, why single drivers? Why is there a cult-like following for single drivers? First of all, they're more coherent, so you'll not be able to hear the tweeter from the woofers. They image well. Instrument placement is easier to make out where they are, right? A good one can achieve a holographic soundstage easier. They are easy to drive and transparent. Also, the dryness in the mid-range makes the vocal sound a bit more natural. A good or bad thing depending on your taste. They excel at certain kind of instruments, flute and violin for example. They're great for simple pieces with maybe like 4 instruments. As long as the song is not too complicated, they can work really well. So when I first got the Lyric, it has all these strengths I mentioned, and it solved a lot of negatives that come with single driver speakers. So let me remind you what they are. Well, they can be a bit shouty, a bit dry, and the top end does not sparkle, and there's no mid bass. Well, the Lyric top end sparkles with no problem. The mid-range shoutiness has been tamed down a lot compared to other single driver speakers I've tried. I noticed that when I first powered it up, and I messaged Armando from Reisong Canada. Guess what? It is because of Nelson Pass. As you know, Nelson Pass, he can touch a piece of paper and it will make it sound good. He gave something to Lyric to help with this issue. Apparently, Nelson also owns these drivers. Now, this information is nowhere to be found except on a YouTube video in Spanish. Now, why they don't advertise the hell out of it is beyond me. If Nelson Pass actually did anything on my Galion TS120, like putting a screw in, hell man, I would put it on the front page of my website. The reason why the TS120 sounds amazing is because Nelson touched it. Of course, I'll omit the part where he just put in the screw. So when Armando told me that, my first thought was, no wonder the Lyric sounds pretty good. Nelson Pass was partly responsible for that. Next, the cabinet gives the speaker adequate bass. I would say like a good normal style mount speaker. Now, I still wish it had a bit more mid bass. So, why with the super low power Reisong I got magic? Here is my logical Spock deduction. First of all, it is low power, so I don't have the same torque and attack in the mid-range. This, in turn, reduces the shoutiness even further, so it's more pleasant to listen to. Next, unlike high-power, super expensive amps that I was using before, the Reisong does not have a lot of bass and dynamics. well, relatively speaking. So the low end does not stand out. Without that low bass standing out, it blends seamlessly with the mid and upper bass, giving it a more balanced presentation. Now, I'm not saying there's no bass, okay? In fact, actually, for the first time, I got real bass from those Reisong A12. But the point here is, overall, the presentation is more balanced. For me, I'm almost tempted to say, all of you who have spent $400 buying the Reisong A12 and are disappointed, your solution is to spend another $3,000 and buy these speakers. What? At least I didn't ask you to spend like $3,000 on cables. Finally, with the shouty mid-range even further reduced, right? I can seriously hear the EL34 tube's strength. The transparency is to the next level, and the breath of the singer is so clear. The illusion of the singer presence is really close. If you ask me, Thomas, man, are you listening to music or the breath of the singer? Do you need to hear the saliva of the singer? If I were Spock, I would say this. You can tell a person's emotion without seeing their face. You can pick it up with the variation of the tone, voice inflection, the change of the breath. So when I say I can hear the saliva of the singer, I don't really want that, but I want to hear the emotions brought about by the singer's breath, for example. The lyric Moonriver with the Reisong A12 show me, man, single drivers, they excel at this. Now I can say, okay, there's a reason to pay $3,000 for this. Now, obviously, the next logical thing I did was to try with other low-power amps. The first amp, the Willsenton R300, 8-watt 300B tubes. The problem, it has the same problem as my more expensive amps. Too dynamic. And for me, nope. Okay, when I put the smoother tubes in, like Sophia 300B with the Willsenton R300, it is better, but I still prefer the Reisong A12. With the Reisong A50, you see that's another amp that uses 300B tubes, which does not have a lot of power. With the Lyric, I actually prefer it over the Willsenton R300. It was more linear and I can hear more the singer. This is the only situation where the Reisong 300B tube amp beats the Willsenton 300B tube amps. Any other situation? No, the Willsenton is better. The next amp, the Luxman SQ150N. EL84 tubes, a bit on the bright side. Okay, sounds still okay, sounds good. Finally, the Finale amp that uses EL84, yeah, really good match. And I noticed I prefer amps with more lean sound with this Moonriver. Finally, I brought out the big guns. I have these Onyx monoblocks that uses 6080 tubes, a big whopping 13 watts. I have the pre-protection sample, so it looks ugly, but who cares, you know, looks are so overrated. I know it sounds about like the final version because someone I know has it. Yeah, a new one's about $4,500. That combo, man, is magic. I listened to over 100 speakers and not many can bring the singer so close to me. Remember in my other video, the Leonidas video, I said the connection is so intimate that it is as if the singer is giving me a lap dance. This combo has that lap dance effect. Man, I just invented a new term for audiophiles. You see, on the soundstage, the singer is positioned behind the speaker, but it feels like he's singing a bit louder. So that slight forward projection, you connect more to the singer. Really feels like a one-to-one presentation. You don't get this with normal speakers. So the moral of the story, no need to spend $3,000 on cables. And as I've been preaching all this time, everything is synergy, man. It's all about component matching. I thought this Lyric speaker, you know, with Reisong driver was meh, just okay. No, I was wrong. You get the matching right, magic. So let me finish the video by talking about a video Loic made a long time ago. You see, when Loic made the video on the Galion TS120, he said, with the Reisong driver speakers he has, the TS120 was a bit too much, too dynamic. Finally, today I understood what he meant. I know some of you might be shocked that, whoa, Loic actually was honest in that video where he did not sugarcoat anything regarding the TS120. He shared his honest observation, and you should go watch that video just for that. I'll put it in the first comment. Loic owes me lunch for this, a free advertisement for him. So going forward, I'll make sure to try many low power amps with any single driver speakers before drawing any conclusions. Now, why choose the Lyric speaker over other single driver speakers? Why? You see, every time I bring a single driver speaker home, I do try it with at least one low power amp. I never had that same feeling as the Moonriver, and I think the key is what Nelson Pass has done with the Moonriver 8. The small differences he made in dealing with the shoutiness made all the differences for me. For those of you who have never listened to a single driver speaker, you have to actually listen to one before considering buying one, because it is really like beer. For many of you, it is an acquired taste. You either love it or you hate it. In my opinion, there's almost no in between. Until you try it, you never know. If you're curious and want to give single driver speakers a try, Lyric speakers are probably one of the best places to start. If you don't like it, don't blame me, blame Nelson. Till next time.
I never think, I never know. I'm stuck and left alone. I've been lost, I've been fine. My cause is not defined.